Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
What's up, Chief Kingdom? My name is Matt Connor. I'm your host. More importantly, I'm here with Adam Best, who is the best. That makes me Matt better. But we're here on the bestest weekend ever. Week 11. This game has been circled, squared, triangle, however you mark your calendars. Since the very beginning of the season, CBS wet its pants when it got the news that they would be hosting Orchard Park, Buffalo Bills, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs at midseason. It was already before, let me just say this, before the season began, this was already like a major game on the schedule. Then when the Super Bowl matchup fails to live up to billing, then when the Chiefs are still undefeated at the midseason mark, with the Bills as hot as they are offensively, with Josh Allen looking like an MVP candidate, like this game looms larger than even I think what we all thought it might be at this point. Adam Best, first of all, how you doing, and how you feeling about a hyped game maybe being even more hype?
Yeah, I'm great. I think coming into the season, a lot of people expected this to be kind of a season where the Buffalo Bills take a step back because they made a lot of salary cap cuts to kind of get that straightened out. They're kind of retooling, much like the Chiefs were a couple years ago. But when you have the second best quarterback in the league, sometimes that doesn't matter. And that's why this game is such a big deal. It is the league's new version of Tom Brady, and the Brady in this version is Patrick Mahomes versus Peyton Manning. And the Peyton Manning maybe is Josh Allen. I think he's eventually got to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs in the postseason. Not to take anything away from today. Today is a big deal, and I think it's probably a bigger deal to the Buffalo Bills because they've been getting big brothered by the Chiefs in the playoffs basically throughout this entire Josh Allen era, and they've been thinking about losing on their home turf for almost a year now. In a really close game. So I think they're going to be really up for this one. I know they're missing some weapons, but I would not sleep on the Buffalo Bills, especially Josh Allen. There's something about when he plays the Chiefs. He'll put his body in line. He'll hurdle people. He'll battering ram people. He's not thinking about getting injured. He's thinking about, I'm sick of hearing about Patrick Mahomes being better than me.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot for us to break down. Before we do anything, though, always want to give all of you a shout out. Any listener, any reader, any viewer, we so appreciate everyone out there who places Arrowhead Addict somewhere in their sphere of Chiefs fandom, in orbit around your listening or viewing habits. We'd so appreciate it. If you appreciate us, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, leave us a great review, anything there. We also have memberships available and more that you can check out in the info section of wherever you're taking this in. Also, by the way, we will have halftime and postgame set up for you. So if you're here already, stick around, watch the game with us. It's going to be a great day. Now, back to what you were saying. Josh Allen, let's talk about him for just a second, because he's one of those guys that, no one loves a rival. It's easy to hate on rivals, but I find myself rooting for Josh Allen in that, I appreciate him as a player a lot. Even though he plays for another team, he's got that kind of, same thing when I watch Lamar. It's like, I don't like the Ravens. Ravens fans are the worst. Really everyone's fans are the worst except for ours. But then when
let's be honest, Bengals fans are the worst.
Okay, Bengals fans are the absolute worst. But it's the same thing with Burrow too. When you're watching someone so good at their craft, You appreciate that. And Josh Allen, do you find yourself liking Josh Allen, even though he's like, or at least appreciating in that way? And is this season like a zenith there for him?
I definitely appreciate Josh Allen. And one of the reasons I appreciate Josh Allen is first of all, he went to Wyoming, and he wasn't a highly touted prospect coming out of high school, and it kind of has shaped himself into the player that he is. Even when he came to the pros, he was wildly inaccurate and has just worked tirelessly at his craft. And anybody who's ever done swimming, competitive running, having someone pushing you is a good thing. Think about it this way. Would Batman have ascended to perhaps the greatest superhero in pop culture without the Joker pushing him? That you got to have that. I think Mahomes having someone coming for the crown and getting pretty close, because all these other quarterbacks, Lamar, Josh Burrow, are great. The only guy that I've ever seen go toe to toe with Mahomes when he is at his very best is Josh Allen, matching haymaker for haymaker in that famous AFC divisional playoff game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's talk about what's at stake today. The Kansas City Chiefs come in. They're the only unbeaten team. You have a multiple game lead in the AFC West. You got more than a game lead in the AFC. This is not the same thing for both teams. I mean, this is a big game. Yes. This is would be great to win for both teams. Yes. But I'd love to get your take on, what do you think this game means for the Chiefs? And what does it mean for the Bills? And what's the differential there?
Some of it's psychological.
Okay.
It's not just the standings at stake. If the Bills lose to the Chiefs today, when the Chiefs just beat them in the playoffs, have won back-to-back Super Bowls, I think psychologically, if you're the Bills, you're sitting there saying, man, maybe these guys are just better than us. Maybe they permanently have our number. Whereas if they beat the Chiefs, they're thinking, hey, we're in that top tier with them. We can hang with these guys. And they go into the playoffs with a little bit of, I don't want to say a psychological edge, but they're not as, they're not defeating themselves before the game starts. I think that happens at this point with teams that play the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do in terms of. I think we just lost Adam. I think he just left the whole show. That's all right. Who needs him? It's just really me and you guys. There. Oh, there he is.
Someone's banging on my door and it's a package. I don't know. It was crazy. It sounded like the cops were coming in, and
someone's calling you right now. Maybe it's I wouldn't open any package right now.
They didn't like the takes, I guess.
From Orchard. Was it postmarked Orchard Park?
I thought it was a Bills fan jumping on a table. It was so loud out there.
Hey, let's talk about. Let's go over, by the way, the list of inactive players for each side. This is vital for today coming in, and there's actually some real talking points here. But for the Chiefs, we have C.J. Hansen, who's a mainstay there. Defensive lineman Marlon Tuipulotu. Running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Defensive end Cam Thomas. And offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia. What that means is offensive tackle Ethan Driscoll, all 6'8" of him, is now active, not just on the active roster, but active for a game. He is presumably LT2. What do you make of that list for the Chiefs and this situation behind Wanye Morris?
It's not the way we wanted it to go. When we drafted Kingsley Suamataia, you look at the clay you had there and you think, potentially, this is a franchise left tackle if everything goes right, because he has all the tools. He's raw as hell, but he has all the tools. And it's kind of been a nightmare season for him. Not only does he consistently get beat, he gets beat quick. He looks lost out there. His technique is not sound. And, talking about the psychological side of football, not even suiting up today and not even making the active roster, you got to wonder how that's affecting Kingsley mentally.
Are you worried about that, by the way? Because even this week, Chiefs coaches in their press remarks talked about the need to balance that psychological, that the game is mental and he is a rookie. And so they even mentioned the need to kind of toe the line. And then here they are, like, just leaving him outright. I mean, like, is this an action speak louder than words? And like, hey, look, we'd love to play careful with the guy, but we're trying to win here. And Wanya Morris comes in. He has no injury designation. But remember, last week, he did leave with a knee injury, and he was listed on the injury report this week, even though he's good to go.
Yeah, Wanya Morris has a bone bruise. That's probably going to affect him a little bit all season. If that thing gets banged up a little bit, it starts to bug him again. So they know they have to have someone waiting in the wings that they actually trust. That's not going to get their billion-dollar quarterback killed as we head into the most important part of the season. So actions totally speak louder than words. This tells us that they think at this point Ethan Driscoll is a more sound left tackle that is going to know the assignment. It's going to hang in there a little bit longer. Either that or they're like, let's take a look. Kingsley Suamataia was so bad last week that, let's just take a look to see if maybe we have a better backup tackle that we could use for the playoffs. And maybe if Ethan Driscoll doesn't cut it, that's when you get on the sell to Donovan Smith or whoever.
Yeah. That was kind of what I thought, that maybe they thought, okay, let's do one more week where we see what we have in everyone internally before we look externally and spend the money, use the roster spot. It's not as if anyone out there externally is in danger of getting signed by someone else. No one, like, their phones aren't ringing off the hook. And it's not as if the options out there are all that great anyway, that you feel like, if I don't hurry to the store and get a loaf of bread and a Donovan Smith, the shelves are going to be cleared. Like, that's just not happening.
No, it's not COVID toilet paper for left tackles right now.
Right.
You know?
Right. I will say this, just for those who don't know, Ethan Driscoll, they're like, who are we talking about? Who's Ethan Driscoll? Driscoll went undrafted this year, but is huge. 6'8", like 315, something like that. He's a 2-year starter at Marshall outside. Was not an immediate starter even at Marshall. So it's not like he came in as this like great recruit into a smaller school. He needed even time there. That's why he went undrafted despite the size, is that there's just a real need for technique and strength. He's a long-term project. But then, to his credit, the Chiefs bring him in because he's got the size and the athleticism, and he moved past experienced players and more heralded prospects to earn a roster spot. So the fact that they've kept him hidden as an inactive versus on the practice squad tells you that they like his pro potential enough to be in a moment like this. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do. And it's got to be one of those Murphy's Law things. It feels like, well, because they brought him in, we're probably going to see, like, it probably feels like that kind of thing. I hope not. We hope that this is a non-talking point today, but it'll be a major subject if Driscoll plays.
He's got a crazy frame. 87-inch, I think it's actually 86.5-inch wingspan. So he's got the arms that Andy Heck and Andy Reid, he's got that length that they covet.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see him. I'd like to take a look, but not under bad circumstances. Maybe let's blow the Bills out and get a little peek in the fourth quarter. That would be the ideal route to seeing him today.
It does feel like maybe next week versus the Carolina Panthers will be more apt for that. Let's get into the inactives for the Bills, because this is some real talking points here. Wide receiver Keon Coleman, who we all know was their rookie, their first pick in the draft, he's out. Dalton Kincaid, their version of Travis Kelce, if you will, out today. And we all know the value of tight ends against the Chiefs defense. Spencer Brown, tackle, out. Will Clapp, offensive lineman, out. Kaiir Elam, the cornerback who they took after we snuck up and took Trent McDuffie, he's inactive today. and then a linebacker with a name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but it's Yulo for show. He's low for show today and out. Adam, to you, Coleman, Kincaid, Brown. We can laugh at Elam too. What's your take on the Bills inactives and what that means for them this afternoon?
Well, you called Dalton Kincaid their version of Kelsey, and I know what you mean in the offense, but he is at best a Dollar Tree version of Travis Kelsey. And I don't even know if he's ever going to turn into that, because he's been a little underwhelming this season for a first-round pick. I mean, you look, not that he needs to be Brock Bowers, but you look at what Brock Bowers is doing, and tight ends nowadays, they can come in and make and have an impact immediately. So, but not having him, Dawson Knox is a downgrade. And Keon Coleman has had his moments for sure this year. He's been a little bit of a roller coaster player, but he's been an important piece for them. And it has, both those guys kind of have explosive play potential. So now you have Amari Cooper with a cast. This might be the receiver who's had the most drops this season, the most issues with keeping his hands reliable. And now he's playing with a cast. Like, what could possibly go wrong there, right? So I think that the issue is that explosive plays are going to have to come from Josh Allen and the run game, because Khalil Shakir is a useful player, but he's a low ADOT guy. He's a little like pop gun player that they're just going to, throw a little four-yard passes to. So I don't know. I think the Chiefs, with the receivers they're looking at, the receiving weapons they're looking at, I think they can kind of stack the box a little bit, try to stuff the run, try to keep Josh Allen from rampaging, as he always seems to do against the Chiefs.
Yeah, it feels like we may see a little bit more Chanel than what we normally would see, which we're always, it'd be nice after the last game he had.
Like week 1 against Lamar, kind of that kind of thing. Yeah.
I will say this, though. I'm getting a little Bucks vibes here, because the Bucks were without Mike Evans. The Bucks were without Chris Godwin. They were down some serious weapons. And you're like, okay, well, it may not be fair, but we're going against them with a neutered offense. And of course, it's not like it's unbalanced here. The Chiefs are without Rashee Rice, without Hollywood Brown, without Isaiah Pacheco, without a number of players, even role players and contributors on defense. So, like, it's not as if the Bills are injury laden and the Chiefs are not. That said, they are limited based on this week's inactives, which is what we're talking about. But, without those weapons, the Bills have had guys step up against the Chiefs. Gabe Davis before Gabe Davis was Gabe Davis, kind of a thing, where like some guys end up coming up big in these games, and the Chiefs let them. The Chiefs let them sort of play bigger, like they did the Bucks a couple of weeks ago. You feel any of that at all?
A little bit, but I think the difference between the Chiefs injuries particularly and the Bills injuries are twofold. The first, the Chiefs have just shown that they're better than every team in the league at dealing with adversity. They adapt, they find a way. Second, with the Bills injuries, these are new. They've had Keon Coleman. They've had Dalton Kincaid. They really haven't had time to adjust. Amari Cooper is a new piece. The Chiefs have some semblance of continuity after kind of a rocky start with all the injuries.
Sure.
DeAndre Hopkins has been here for a while. He seems pretty fully integrated into the office. Travis Kelce is finding his groove as the top option again. Kareem Hunt looks good. So it sounds like we're going to get some Juju Smith-Schuster today.
Yeah.
So that could be the difference.
I wanted to ask you about that because he is active. He is without designation. 3 weeks missed, by the way, with a hamstring injury. Juju's now back. It's his first full game since 7 catches for 130 back in week 5. What do you expect to see from Smith-Schuster today, and how does he work as a trusted weapon now that Nuke is in the lineup and now that Kelce is got his mojo back? What's your expectation? If those are your 3 most trusted targets, what do you think that allows the Chiefs to do or limits the Chiefs to do?
First of all, it takes a little pressure off Xavier Worthy and allows him to just go back to what he's actually ready for in 2024. And that's gimmick player with deep shot ability. Those are the 2 things he's shown he can do at this point, really nothing else. The other thing about Juju coming back now is I don't think he was a good enough player to run the offense through. I know he had that one crazy week, and I also don't think he was as good of a fit with Rashee Rice, because I think both those guys need to be in the slot. DeAndre Hopkins can benefit from being in the slot, but we know he's an outside ball winner. We know he can do all the X receiver stuff. So I think DeAndre Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster work a little bit better together than Rashee Rice and Juju did. That's just kind of my gut feeling. We'll see how it meshes once they're out there together. But they're both also two very intuitive, smart football players. So I think they'll complement each other quite well.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see another trusted target, because it just feels like chemistry and trust over the last 2 years. I've just never seen anything like it. That the last 2 years have just featured such odd offensive wrinkles for the Chiefs and a clear lack of connection, trust, chemistry, timing, all that. And so for them, that like Nuke was a good addition. Juju, it's good to have him back.
Related question there. MVS is going crazy for New Orleans.
Crazy.
What is up with that? Is that just, was he not a good enough fit for the Chiefs? Was he just, I'm trying to figure out like if this is an indictment of the Chiefs offense, or sometimes a change of scenery can just boost your confidence and be a better fit.
To me, it's a small sample size, right? When we talk about Xavier Worthy, if two passes go differently, we're talking about a different look for Xavier Worthy. When we're talking about MBS in New Orleans, what he got, it's like 4 catches for 180 yards or something like that, right? So like 4 catches. If one of those are dropped, are we even talking about him right now? Do you even bring him up if 1 or 2 of those are a slight overthrow? So
variance, right?
I just think the sample sizes are so small that it's really dangerous to like lean into them too much, other than saying, wow, look at that, it's notable, and look at this, it's notable, and then leaving them notable for the sample size to grow from there and either prove the initial leanings or inclinations or not. That would be my take. But
yeah, I'm on board with you there.
Let's look a little further here at this Buffalo team. We haven't really talked about the defenses too much, but Josh Allen presents a real challenge for the Chiefs defense. Chris Jones has not had a sack, and I think it's 5 games, right? I mean, we're going back to week 4, maybe week 5, but it's been kind of a dry run there, although he's obviously still effective, still double teamed, still getting some pressure. But looking at the Chiefs pass rush against a quarterback like Allen with a team like the Bills, what's your expectation there in the front 7?
I'd like to see a little bit more from Joshua Uche today.
Yeah.
This is a quarterback he knows well as a former New England Patriot. So I'd like to see a little bit more from him, a little bit more from all the edges. I think that's going to help free Chris Jones. Right now, offensive coordinators feel like they can just basically double Chris Jones 75% of the time. He's just more than any other player in the league. And that's why sometimes you don't see him getting a bunch of sacks, because he's got 2 sets of hands, 4 hands on him at all times, basically. Yeah. It's a really hard situation to be in. I think he manages it extremely well. And you see from the highlights that his presence is felt in the actual game, even when you don't see it in the counting stats. So I'm not really worried about Chris, but I think he's overdue for one of his signature games, especially overdue for one of those big Chris Jones moments. Remember the last time these teams played, their left tackle, Dawkins, got beat by him, and Chris Jones altered that throw from Josh Allen that would have been a game-winning touchdown to, I believe, Khalil Shakir. So Chris Jones knows this opponent quite well, and I'm just hoping Tershawn Wharton, all those guys can get it going today.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd love to see a great game from Karlaftis. He's it should be fun to see what they do up there. I will say though, the Bills, we haven't talked about this. Their running backs are really interesting to me, because James Cook, obviously talented, can get the job done in a couple ways there. He's going to be a spark plug for them, majorly to lean into. But also there's a guy emerging, Ray Davis, who's also behind him, who has really kind of been a spark plug as well. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's really emerged right as the Bills are averaging over 30 points a game over the last month. Are you a little worried about what the Bills can do out of the backfield?
They're talented players. You have to be a little bit worried about those guys. I've been impressed with Ray Davis. James Cook, of course, is a really good player. I think they're actually trying to emulate maybe what Detroit is doing, leaning more on the run to open up the pass. This has just kind of been a different Buffalo Bills team than we've seen in the past. And I think they'll try to establish the run today, but good luck. The Chiefs have been excellent against the run. Doesn't matter if you're Bijan Robinson or Derrick Henry. You really have not been able to get it going. We saw last week the Broncos went with a new running back. They went with Audric Estime. He looked okay, but he really couldn't get it going. The Chiefs they're not going to give up explosive plays, and they're not going to let you run it down their throat. So what do you do as an offensive coordinator to kind of get over on this unit? I think the path to that is those short and intermediate passes. You pick on the linebackers and the safeties a little bit with the passing game. I just don't know if they have the tools to do that, but maybe they'll get the running backs involved in the passing game.
You're saying Dawson Knox for 150 and 2 tutties is what you're saying.
Hey, if there is an anytime touchdown, I can't give betting advice, but I think Dawson Knox could have a sleepy fantasy game. Let's put it like that.
Sleepy fantasy game. I love it. Hey, one big news of note from the week that we haven't touched on. Harrison Butker is now out for a team that routinely settles for 3 instead of getting 7 in the red zone. For all of our red zone woes, not having Harrison Butker in there for the next month, it could be a challenge. The Chiefs have fared fairly well in the past when finding replacement kickers. Matthew Wright, for example, although Matt Amendola, mixed results there. Even Harrison Butker himself was poached from the Panthers, and when Cairo Santos went down with a groin injury. How much does that worry you? And especially when combined with recent red zone foibles.
It worries me for sure. Harrison Butker is, now that Justin Tucker isn't Justin Tucker anymore. I think he missed 2 field goals today, and
Jeez.
I don't think the game's even over yet. So he's the most clutch kicker in the NFL. So you're definitely going to miss that, but it is important to get him right before the postseason. And I do see a silver lining here. Sometimes, for my taste, Andy Reid's looking at 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 or 4th and 3, and he looks at the best player on the planet, and he looks at his kicker and says, I'm going with the kicker. I like for him to trust 15 a little bit more on those 4th down conversions, because I think getting aggressive there could help the Chiefs. Their opponents, when they're playing the Chiefs, feel like they need to throw the kitchen sink at the Chiefs. So 4th and 4, if other teams are across the 50, they're going for on the Chiefs, maybe even 4th and 6.
Yeah.
They're throwing everything they have. They're getting as aggressive as you possibly can. So that is the silver lining here. Plus, you got to get Harrison Butker right for the postseason.
Yeah. If Mahomes knows ahead of time, he's got 4 downs to work with in certain situations, that dramatically changes not just that down. That changes a lot about the aggression on other downs. If that's true, we're going to have a lot of fun today. I think you're onto something there. That'd be very exciting to me as a viewer and a fan, of course. Folks, we're coming up on the toward the end of our time here. Game is just over 5 minutes away. What we haven't done is gotten our predictions. Adam Best, how are you feeling about today's game? You have a player to look for that we haven't talked about, or a key angle, and then your final prediction for today's game.
Key player. I'm not going to give you a Chief. I'm going to give you a Buffalo Bill, because we haven't talked about him yet, and I think we have to talk about him. That's Greg Rousseau. I think he's been in the league 3 or 4 years, former first-round pick. He's really blossoming into a star this year. I think his PFF grade's 88 or 89 or something. He's been tremendous. So you're having problems at the tackle spot, Greg Rousseau, they've got to keep him under control today because I think he's been a force of nature. But I'm picking the Chiefs. I don't pick against the Chiefs. They know how to finish better than any team I've ever seen. So it's going to be tight, but I'm picking the Chiefs 24-23. How about you, Matt?
Honestly, when I submitted my picks for our site predictions, I actually had the Bills winning this game. But since then, I think the way the inactives and things have turned out, I actually like the Chiefs in this one. By the way, my X factor here is Matt Milano. Matt Milano is out. He's the Bills' best. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in the entire NFL. The fact that he's out for this game removes a major playmaker in the intermediate and the second level, where the Chiefs are going to be living in the second level today with Juju, with Nuke, with Kelsey. I think they're just going to feast when I was a little bit more doubtful before. And I agree it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be even that high scoring. I'll go 20-18. And then we'll how about a Spencer Schrader game-winning kick? Would that'd be a nice welcome to Chiefs Kingdom? Why not?
Be a great way to initiate him. And I'm looking at the scores here. It looks like the Ravens are going to lose to the Steelers. So we take care of business today. That 1 seed is looking probable, if not a sure thing.
Here's hoping, folks. Folks, as always, thanks for listening here at Arrowhead Addict. Be here at halftime, folks. Be here at halftime. We'll be here for you at halftime. And, of course, we're serving milk and cookies after the game with all the normal persons you'd expect, Patrick. And I don't even know. He just brings all his friends. There'll be a room full of people, or maybe just Patrick. Either way, join us for the post game and hang out with us. But for Adam, for Richard, our producer, for our entire team, and for myself, as always, go Chiefs, and hopefully we'll be 10-0 after today.